Every year the demand for silk is more than the supply. China no longer has land to establish the silviculture farms, but we have the land. We see Uganda's production actually increasing for the next perhaps 50 years. I'm the Executive Director of Tropical Institute of Development Innovations. My name is Clet Wandui.
Dr. Clet Wandui is a scientist turned silk entrepreneur on leaving his prestigious government job to build an empire estimated to be worth 800 billion in the next 5 years.
I did research for over 10 years.
Wow.
And that's trying to do testing different silkworm, looking at the mulberry plant which the silkworm feed on. And traditionally Uganda has been doing cotton, but now cotton in Uganda is not competitive anymore. Yet people continue to consume a lot of clothes. So I decided to say, fine, let's look at what are the other alternatives of fibers. We have natural fibers, for example, in Uganda. We have baka cloth. Gives you good fiber, and you can make very good fabric out of it. Then we have bananas, gives you very good yarn that you can make clothes with.
Really?
Yeah, and sisal. There are a number of other fiber crops that we have. Now, when it came to silk, I realized it even holds a lot of potential because already it has a global demand. The market is there, the supply is less. So I focused my efforts on silk.
Silk today stands to be the most expensive fiber on earth, making it attractive for investment. And this is mostly attributed to the deficit in supply.
Welcome to Tropical Institute of Development Innovation. Here at Nadud Place is our headquarters. And here we have enterprises like silk or silviculture. Silviculture is the process of growing of mulberry for rearing silkworm to produce cocoons that are used to extract threads, which is used in the weaving process to produce a silk cloth.
Like most people, I am curious to know what silk farming really is. With us here is Emmanuel, a staff member at Treaty. As on our way to one of their establishments, he assures us he will be answering all our questions on silviculture.
How does silk come from a silkworm? That doesn't make sense.
The basic science is the mulberry leaf has protein. Now when the silkworm eats it, it converts the protein into fiber. Now when it reaches this pupal stage, where it has to form a cocoon around itself, it vomits or spits out this fiber by winding it around itself to form this cocoon. Now, when it forms this cocoon, this is what the gold that the farmer desires.
So this is the silk?
Yes, this is now the silk you are seeing. Now, we only continue the process if you want to make the eggs. But however, now, we now need this cocoon.
Silk farming to some cultures represented a tradition and way of life of the people, most especially in places like China, India, Japan, Korea, Thailand, Vietnam. In these traditions, silk represented wealth and most times worn for special occasions.
So which year is this?
I started this work in 2000.
2000.
Yes, to start thinking of making this kind of contribution. Now, along the way, you don't have, of course, the money, but you can say, what can I do? That's where I joined NARO to do some research and to give me survival, basically. But the idea that I have, I'm growing it. So I get money elsewhere and I put into my idea. So from 2000 up to 2010, I haven't gotten money yet. So I will do my research, I will invest it, then when I get some money, I continue, invest it, and continue, including a number of international trips that I've made. You go to places, basically, to see how people are doing that and what I can do when I come back.
These travels are all on your money?
Personal money.
Wow.
Until when it came to 2017, that is now about 17 years later, that's when government of Uganda gives us the first money. But before government of Uganda through Innovation Fund, I literally moved to any institution that can give money, including banks, and banks are fearing, they are taxation, they are not so. But I knew what I'm doing, so I said, let me keep going.
So let's go back a little bit. So this research you were doing all these years since like 2000,
yeah.
Where were you doing it for?
The initial part was basically desk review until the time when I introduced some of these plants and I started doing them privately on my own gardens. So you now want to pilot and see, is this idea working?
Yeah.
Now as we piloted that, time came when like, you have this variety, it is performing this, but you need to improve it so that it performs better to suit our own environment. Then you begin to see which one has which characters that you might need to put in the other. So there's breeding comes on board. Then the next thing is you look at the silkworm themselves. Which variety is performing well? So we had to get varieties from India, we had to get some that had come in this country area, we had to get others from Nairobi or Kenya, Isipe, International Center of Insect Physiology. So you compare which ones can do better. And then you begin to evaluate them. So when you begin to see us now begin to produce our own eggs, the research continues, but we also at the same time producing.
These are now the eggs. We have stored them here. They need to be under refrigeration to stay away from any kind of warmth, because warmth in itself makes them to hatch, and that would happen prematurely and would lose all of them. So when it is under the refrigerator, they are able to stay safe, mature. So this cold room will be able to, after we've finished installing, we'll be able to store as many eggs as possible to run an entire year or more than a year, depending on our production. When COVID came in, there were no direct planes and no movements. That affected our sericulture industry.
We have over 3,000 acres of land, slightly more than a half, under mulberry production. And we were doing that with support of government of Uganda that had given us support as scientists to commercialize technologies in silk production. Recently, government pulled out, and therefore we are able to push on by ourselves. Now what it means is that we have got to operationalize the 2 factories that we have. We have one in Shema, another one in Clet, and we have rearing houses, so we must use them or complete them for commercial production. Just like any other business, you are in Uganda here, you have seen how people have exchanged money in oil, but we are not producing any oil now. But the amount of money that people have put in for the last 10 years or so is so much, and the people working in the industry are earning so much. But the real investors, they haven't started getting the money out. They're simply putting it. It is basically the same approach that we have adopted. Start small, know where you are going, but we also know at least in the next 5 to 10 years we should be having or controlling at least 50,000 acres of land and a mulberry. And once you do that, then you should be able to earn approximately 800 billion in a year. So it immediately covers for
the other
several years we have operated without earning money.
This is an amazing concept, because the same concept like venture capitalists are using for companies like Facebook, Amazon. A lot of years of not earning any money, and later on they're earning money.
That's correct.
It beats my understanding how an industry with such promising prospects is neglected by the government, especially at the point where the support is much more needed. In most cases, this has caused closure of such brilliant projects or delay of scalability.
It is Clen where we are already producing this silk yarn, and this silk yarn has been tested on 4 different markets. We have tested it in the European market, we have tested it on Chinese market, Indian market, and Vietnam. So we are very confident of the grade we are producing, and they are ready to take everything that we produce in this country. One key constraint that we are facing in scaling down and optimize our production potential is water and the stable supply of electricity. The site where we have put the factory, we expected to drill water from underground, but we have not been very successful. We are thinking of joint ventures with those who are already in the business, and these options should be able to enable us ride on already the capacities in terms of markets and the technologies that our colleagues already have. The disadvantage with it is that they would wish to negotiate for a bigger share or percentage of investment into this joint venture. The other options that we have is, since we believe in the science, we now have the markets and we have tested the product. We just need resources that should enable us to pay our staff on time, consumables like electricity and water on time, and a steady supply of raw materials. So this will require at least a grace period of 2 years to 3 years. If we able to get a bank where we can negotiate that, that would be the best option.
In this generation that I'm growing up in, people want fast money, want to get this. What do you have to say to such people, the younger generation?
When you are younger and you do not have a source of income, your interests are very different. Because one is with internet, you are able to see people are making money. And actually, the first person to start a wine factory was 16 years old. So our people, when you see them ambitious, they are also right. 16 years old, you start a factory, someone has never done it before, and begins to really work. But they will need investment. So young people, and my focus is also not only young people, but focus is on government. Government must find money to fund these young people who have ideas, so that they are able to actually make more money when they are young, and they do it in areas that interest them.
Exactly.
They don't have to wait for so long. But then there was also opportunities for the banking, and banks have different types of banks. We have the agricultural banks that have special loans for those investing in agriculture. We have those investing in ICT and other areas. So all those are structured differently. They have the strengths in that they know how to manage or administer loans and how to recover the funds. And they are also part of the investment, because they don't give and wait to close it up or sell it up. They are parts of the decision making on how you grow this business. And this is something that the government of Uganda can actually adopt to support, not only the government of Uganda, but also the entire Africa, because most of these are not there in Africa, and that's why we have the brains, and without resources, you can't go back with your idea. I would not have done this or remained persisting if I did not have sources of income that enabled me to be able to remain focused on the idea. Otherwise, I would have abandoned it long ago. And where we have reached, we now don't see us fall back, because we have the land, which we control, we have the machines. All we need is now the people to be able to work. And we now know where the market is. If we need more technology, we know where to find it.
It's amazing. Source of capital is really, really key for development. And I think it's a good thing that you've been blessed to have these sources along the way. And of course, it's progress for us. If you win, we all win.
That's correct.
Especially for us who like to dress.
That's very correct.
As I continue to speak to Dr. Wandui, I see a person determined to create, a person determined to see his dream come to fruition. And at this moment, I synchronize with him because I fully understand what this means. However, it's also important that we get to understand what picture he draws for the future of silk in this country.
The future of the market of silk is really good for several reasons. Number one, we are working with global leaders in the market. So we are able to project the market and also access the right technology to be very, very competitive. Every year the demand for silk is more than the supply. So we wouldn't have any situation where we are producing less. China no longer has land to do the silk or establish the silviculture farms, but we have the land. And then also India, which is the second leader in the business, every year for them they don't even have what is enough for themselves, so they import. We see Uganda's production actually increasing for the next perhaps 50 years. Now, as the business stabilizes, we will have people who will specialize in producing the eggs only, nothing else. They will not do any other business, but breeding and producing eggs. We will need to have people whose role is to produce the mulberry plant, even breeding and producing new varieties. We will have to have people who provide the regulation to regulate the quality and how we are doing it in the country. We will have to have people to do extension to the farmers, because there are farmers who have the land but who may not have the capacity to reach the processors or private sector to process. So we need people whose only service is concentrate on providing these extension services. And then we will also have people whose focus is to buy the cocoons and process. So these are people who will be investing in the machinery that is producing. Now we will also need to have people whose specialty is in dyeing and twisting the yarn before you begin to weave to make the clothes. So the entire value chain, the range of activities across the entire value chain. Then as of course you produce the silk clothes, you will need people who make the garments. Those will be making gomasses, make ties, making suits, bed covers, duvet covers, sofa sets, and all those items that you can make, including those fancy fashion dresses for, celebrities.
So one last question. Did you always want to become a scientist since childhood?
Yeah, I'd always wished to be a scientist. The only thing is, well, at about O level is when I realized that I did not need to join medicine, because that would be a hope of everyone. Mm-hmm. And I thought I never had the patience to deal with people. So that's what kept me off. When I joined university, I was lucky. I applied. My first choice was forestry, and I got it. It was my first choice, and I got it. And what really pushed me into the forest was because I could see people working in forestry, driving double cabins, and these were good cars, 4 wheels. So I admired. I thought, I needed to get into this field. And then, of course, what really was taking me there was the kind of life that I saw the people who were involved, who were employed in that field, right? But then, also at O level, I was beginning to, I could read genetics, and there was this scientist called Gregory Mendel who discovered, genetics, breeding, crossing this to that, get a new product. So I thought I can be part of those who can develop new varieties of plants or animals. And that idea kept on. So even when I joined my forestry, I knew that part is there. I would study it. I did teaching as well while I was at university. One part-time teacher, and I taught biology. So I was happy. And then after my first degree, because I wanted genetics, I went on the net and searched for a course in genetics, and I got a good course at the University of Birmingham in the UK. So I studied my genetics because I loved it. And the reason I now, at that level, I had begun to see I can develop new products and I make money from them, but at the same time, I'm at the core of biology and discovering new things, which I thought was a field reserved to a few people. So then I go for my PhD, again in the same field of genetics, which involves breeding new things. And then it was also a broader field. Once you do genetics, you can do genetics of livestock, genetics of human beings, genetics of crops, genetics of anything. So it is a field that is really, really broad, and you can use your knowledge in any direction.
But you chose to use it here?
Yeah, because the demand, I mean, which technology is coming to replace dressing? It's just not there. So as you produce, you continue wanting. Of course, we have as fiber options, like plastics now, synthetic fibers, they are there. But natural fibers are considered classic. So by the time we start thinking to abandon, it will be, well, when perhaps I'm not active anymore. But I don't see anything in less than 50 years to come. So I'm looking at a product whose demand in the next 50 years will continue to be there.
Wow. So it's been amazing and exciting to have you. And I hope that your project to another level, I hope people get to watch this and are able to, join and expand this to another level. Maybe people who can also really push the papers and make things easier for you. I hope they get to watch this and make this worthwhile for you, but also for the nation as well.
You're welcome, and welcome to be part of this journey.
Thank you.
I've so far spent more than 20 years in it. You have just come on board. Welcome, and I think let's push this.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Have a great night.
If you've managed to watch this documentary to the end, thank you very much. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the YouTube channel, and see you next time.